Ayan na, ayan na. Kamusta kayo dyan mga kameta? Ayan, nakahabol na tayo. Talaga kayo eh. Inahabol talaga natin itong mga meta natin kahit anong oras. Kamusta naman kayo dyan mga kameta? Talagang kung kailan tayo medyo lumabas ng konti sa bayan ang dami-dami nangyayari sa ating minamahal na Pilipinas. Ayan na. Ayan na, by all indications, mukhang nagsimula na itong 2025 elections. Mukhang nandito na, mukhang meron na tayong blueprint, no? Or at least meron tayong medyo outline ng anong mga kampo-kampo mangyari dyan sa 2025 elections, midterms. Yan. Saan tayo tataya? Or wag na tayo magtataya, kuha na lang daw tayo ng popcorn. No? Yan, ganyan lang daw gagawin natin. Kamusta naman kayo dyan mga kameta? Kamusta kayo dyan mga galing sa Tatay Land? Right? Ang dami na naman sinasabi ni Tatay Digong. Eto na. Sa Tatay Digong, eto na talaga. Hindi lang nagdi-defend sa kanyang anak, but kinda goes also on the offensive against dun sa perceived force behind itong mukhang gradual erosion in power of the supposed second most powerful person in the person, or some would say someone who was really the most powerful or most popular supposedly, right? So eto na mga kameta, Tatay Digong to the rescue. So kagabi pinag-usapan natin with our good friends si Ronald Llamas, among others. Ito yung show ni Tatay Digong, Gika sa Masa, para sa Masa TV program. Sinabi niya, ito talaga si Tatay. Hindi pa rin natapos talaga itong Tatay Times. Okay, dito medyo nagpaparinig itong si Tatay Confidential Fund. Mamaya pag-usapan natin mga confidential fund ni Tatay. Sabi ni Tatay na nag-insinuate siya na yung Speaker of the House, who is effectively the right-hand man of the President, ayan, sinasabi niya na yun daw ang behind dun sa mga kritisismo kay Vice President and Education Secretary, who happens to be his daughter. Baka naman si Tatay, baka ito yung host ng Gikan sa Masa, para sa Masa, mukhang nakikinig yata sa mga vlogs natin. Baka fan din ito ng R&R. Yan. Sabi ni former President, dun sa 500 million pesos confidential fund, yung malaking ni-request ng kanyang anak for 2024 GAA, General Appropriations Act. Ito. Sabi na she'll be spending it on strengthening the preparatory military training in high school to instill a love for the country among the youth. Talaga. Ito si Tatay, love talagang country. Ito yung si Tatay na I love China, China will protect me, wala naman nangyari daw sa Reed Bank, Little Maritime Incident. Ayan, ito yung Tatay na very concerned sa patriotism. Alright, sabi niya. Tapos nagpatawa siya. Sabi niya, in-advise daw niya si Sarah to be more candid on the real reason how she would use the money to, quote, to rid Congress of communists. Ayan, medyo may patama na, may konting Tatay style na nagte-threaten. At sabi niya, yung anak niya ngayon pa lang, dahil perceived na siya as a top candidate or a good candidate for 2028 elections, general elections, baka nati-threaten ng iba or baka nagko-conspire ng iba laban sa kanya. Sabi niya, but I am saying now that Inday, as far as I'm concerned, should not run for president. Ito na naman yung style nila na should run, should not run, should run, should not run. Kaya nga bara-bara magpresidente. Kasi sa pagtakbo pa lang, yung laos na script na pa ulit-ulit na 2016 gagawin na naman. Bakit di nag-gets? Laos na yung mga ganyan style. Tingnan naman nangyari ng 2022. Tuloy nanalo Sino nanalo? Si BBM nanalo. Sa kaka-I'll run, I'll not run, tapos papalit-palit, ayan. Wala na, laos na yung style na yan. But anyway, sabi, tama na yung Vice President, maganda na yan. Ibigay niya yan sa iba. Aba, ibigay niya sa iba, ano ba yan? Parang, ano yan, damit lang, hiniram lang, talagang si Tatay, taas talagang respeto. But eto guys, this is where, sabi ng iba, labas na yung mga popcorns. Labas na yung mga popcorns, mga kameta. Yan. Sabi na, ito. Medyo may patama na. Sabi niya, this Romualdez speaker has been feeding congressman with cash but I say he should be audited. Sabi niya sa Pilipino. Marunong. Natatagalog si tatay. Parang mas magaling pa yata yung Tagalog ko sa kanya kaya yung konyo yung Tagalog natin. Sabi niya, because the speaker is poised to run for president, well and good. Sabi na ito. Siguro ganyan yung style yung sinabi ni tatay. Duterte stressed that Romualdez has been his friend even before Ferdinand Marcos became president. Sabi niya, seems you've said you want to be president. I said, okay, I was not thinking of my daughter. She's just perceived to be a good candidate. Bah, may mga paganyan-ganyan pa. Now, ito si Duterte, si tatay. Inakusa niya si Romualdez of, quote, wallowing dito sa mga, alam niya, yung mga funds daw. Sabi niya, let's liquidate and you'll find out that it is Congress that is the biggest spender supposedly and they do not have a limit on their pork barrel daw, especially sa ilalim na kasalukuyan daw na speaker leadership. He's wallowing daw sa mga ganitong funds. So, medyo, eto na si tatay. Eto na. Arrow, boom. Yan, medyo nag-ano na si tatay. Nag-ano na si tatay. Eto na. Arrows fired. Boom. Yan. Okay, talagang magaling talaga itong si tatay natin. Next level talaga itong tatay natin. Ito. Mga kamets. Hindi ko alam ba't itong internet natin sa kabila pati gumagana. Nakakainis to. Sinasabotage ba tayo dito? Baka matampon na yung mga ibang kasama natin dito. 1 second wait lang. Pinapainit pa natin yung diskusyon. Ayan. On na lang natin itong data roaming. Dahil parang sinasabotage na tayo dito. Okay. Behave lang tayo Hi! Pilipinas kong mahal. Ayan. Okay. Ito na. Sana nagana ito. Okay. I hope this one works. Balik na tayo. Ayan. Okay. Anyway, eto niya. An point of Romualdez defended naman. So may mga nagalit, may hindi natuwa dito. At an point of Romualdez defended the House Representative dito sa mga remarks niya. Sabi niya, pag tinignan mo yung COA report, released on October 2, the House has no disallowances, no notice of suspension, no notice of charge. It means we passed the COA audit. Ibig sabihin, walang problema, nothing flagged, nothing of serious issue. So, hindi niya daw alam anong sinasabi itong tatay. Sabi niya, all line items in our budget are subject to regular accounting and auditing rules and regulations. Our books are always open to audit daw. Wala daw problema, hindi nila alam yung pinagsasabi. So, ito na. Nagsasagutan na mga kamets. Ito na. So, sabi niya, our books are always open to the Commission on Edit. And sabi niya, of course, dapat ang gobyerno, expenditures niya should be transparent and fully auditable. Right? Siguro ang medyo may patama ng konti dun sa mga ibang confidential fund na hindi ma-audit in a normal sense of the word. Ito na talaga mga kameta. Nagsimula na ito, mga away na ito. Ayan. So ito si House Secretary General. Ang dami mga proxy. Yung isang ka-unity natin, proxy dun sa anak niya. Ito naman yung isang ka-unity natin, nagpo-proxy dun sa speaker. Ano ba talaga? Drama talaga ng Pilipinas? Ano bang Pilipinas? So sabi ni House Secretary General Reginald Velasco. So ito si Bossing Velasco to, no? Yung sinabi niya dun sa mga pinagsasabi ni tatay. Si tatay talaga, bakit ganyan si tatay? Bakit naman kasi? In a statement, sabi ni Velasco, said that the House had what the House had were funds for, quote, extraordinary and miscellaneous expenses. Now, 1.614 billion for 2023 and proposed 1.259 billion for next year, which are line items subject to audit rules and regulations. So yes, meron daw funds, pero itong mga funds na ito ay hindi dodgy. Itong funds na ito ay hindi questionable. Alright, sabi niya, All line items in our budget are subject to regular accounting and auditing rules and regulation. Our books are always open for commission. So, medyo may patama dito ng konti dun sa confidential funds, diba? It means that we always pass the COA's edit. Pag tinignan mo yung latest COA edit na lumabas noong October 2, kung may problema daw, may problematic daw, lalabas yan. Ay. Ito pang interesting So, si Tatay Digong, hindi natin sinabi kanina, he attacked itong kongreso na to as the most rotten institution in the country. Itong tawag niya, most rotten institution in the country. Sinabi ni Tatay yan, at inaccuse niya, of course, na may mga weirdo daw nangyari dyan, may mga extraordinary expenses daw nangyari, sabi ni Tatay. Ay. Bakit ganon? Ang aga-aga pa. Now, just go to the basic facts, okay? Just go to the basic facts. For 2023, yung Senado natin ay nag-approve ng funding of 1.8 billion pesos for miscellaneous and operating expenses. Ito yung MOE. And by the way, some of that actually, base dun sa isang vlog natin, ay pupunta na rin sa some of the departments, including Department of Education, among others, no? So, may MOE, no? Not necessarily the confidential fund. And also the Senate is asking for 1.534 billion naman for next year. On the other hand, the House, so ito yung sinasabi natin ng mga kameta na dapat titignan natin ano yung final version na lalabas dun sa bicameral. Kasi yung latest na nakita natin na pushback sa confidential fund, particularly dun sa Office of the Vice President and particularly dito sa Office of the Department of Education Secretary, this was done at the level of the lower house. So, ang tanong ngayon is, anong mangyayari sa upper house? No? Whether dito sa upper house, susundan nila itong mga mungkahi at mga desisyon, unanimous daw ayon kay Madam Stella Kimbo. Sabi niya. Okay, so sabi ng house, it has a 2.00066 billion budget for travel, 2 billion pesos pang travel lang daw. Grand Prix. Okay? 1.614 billion for extraordinary miscellaneous expenses and almost 3 billion for maintenance and operations for 2023. Ang hiningi po ng Kongreso yata to, base dito, ipopost ko dyan sa baba. Ang hiningi niya is 4.1, almost 4.2 billion pesos for these expenditures for next year. Sabi nga ni Bato, to use his poetic line, sarap ng buhay. Okay. Sinabi ni Velasco, ito of course supporter ni Speaker, sabi niya, extraordinary miscellaneous expenses were for case in which a lawmaker, quote, could not reasonably expect the issuance of a receipt, including emergency situations such as giving aid for hospitalization or deaths of constituents and dole-outs during calamities. So, are they saying na actually may mga expenses dyan na paano ma-audit yan kung wala palang receipt, diba? He said the congressman can certify to incurring these expenses in support of their function as required by COA. So hindi ito confidential fund, but okay lang daw if may mga cases, may mga emergency cases sa mga others na hindi ka na lang mag-issue ng receipt. Kasi ibang So, okay, bahala na kayong musga. But an opposition leader, of course, ayon kay Representative Edsel Lagman, sabi niya, itong mga extraordinary miscellaneous funds could be used for calamity response, citing the limitations set in 2023 General Appropriations Act. So, okay. Ganito, okay. Ipopost ko dito mga kameta, okay? Don't worry about it. All these articles and arguments, ipopost natin dito. Okay, what's going on here? Okay. Analyze natin. What's going on here? Well, what's going on here is mukhang one camp is already realizing that the tide is turning. A camp is realizing that time is not necessarily on their side politically. And mukhang some in this camp are realizing that the best way to defend is to go on offense. So medyo parang Brazilian football national team, the best defense is offense, right? Usually pag nanood kayo ng football, makikita niyo yung Brazil usually doesn't have the best defenders but many good offenders, no? Offenders. Hindi offender, attack players, like offenders, mali yata yan. Yung mga naglalaro sa offense, center forward, mga ganyan, okay? So, mukhang ang basa ng iba dyan, ganito na lang. Huwag na tayo umupo dyan at hintayin lang na matatanggal tayo ng fund, na mabugbog tayo sa mga kritisismo, na unti-unti, no, the news is tightening nagigets na and unti-unti na-feel nila is the chains of power are slipping through their fingers. Parang yun ang yun ang medyo nakikita nila dito. So siguro ang basa dito is let's go on the offensive. Siguro naman popular pa naman tayo. Siguro pa naman marami pa rin nagmamahal sa atin dahil napakagaling naman natin nung panahon na tayong presidente. Dahil nung panahon na presidente na tayo, wala naman tayong confidential funds. Pero meron nga. So, kung titignan nyo, ito yung mga confidential funds nung panahon ni Tatay. At of course, alam naman natin yan, mga confidential funds na yan, kamusta ang pag-audit dyan? Alright, so, some are saying, like, this is kind of weird. Why would you make a tax like that when you oversaw so many confidential funds? And, the other side can fight back and says, like, tignan natin, kamusta naman dyan. Diba? So, I'm not sure it's the smartest move, to be honest, mga kamet. This is a risky move. But siguro ang basa dito is, well, if we're just gonna sit here, we're gonna be sitting duck, and the next thing you know is, first they come after our confidential funds. Next thing you know, baka mamaya papacheck pa nila yung mga sound ng panahon ni ganito. Mamaya papacheck nila yung ganito. Mamaya, you don't know, there'll be criticism, there'll be bookingan, there'll be whatever. So, take the fight to them. Siguro ganun yung logic. Siguro napuno na. But, ganito na lang. Again, all of this is speculation. We don't know what's going on. Maybe I'll just talk to Tatay Digong and interview him. Baka mag-meta na lang tayo with Tatay. Tingnan natin ang iisip niya. No, I mean, these are all speculation. So we don't know what's real. But my sense is what perhaps we were expecting to happen a little bit later. But what we actually predicted will happen way earlier. So kung titingnan niyo, 2021 pa lang may mga articles na tayo about what's happening right now. Now, this kind of competition is almost unavoidable, especially if traditional opposition is not seen as a big threat. So, sila-sila na lang. So bakit, ganito kasi, bakit mo kailangan ng unit team kung wala naman talaga kayong kalaban na malakas? So, ang mangyayari talaga dito is, who's the boss? Who's the dominant faction within the ruling coalition? So, parang yun ang nangyayari ngayon, mga kamets, no? So, my thing is, in let's say, first world, cautious, good Machiavellian kind of politics, ang mangyayari dito is, you realize, first of all, you recognize na what's the state of affairs now, alright? Yes, of course, one side feels entitled because they were in power for so long, until recently, and they feel that they were really the dominant force in last year's elections. And guess what? I don't disagree with that. I actually agree with that. That yung 60% so na napunta dun sa unit team, you could say a big part of that is because of the power and momentum of the Dutertes. I think I kind of agree with that. But the reality is so many things have changed since last year, right? And the reality is that the president is the most powerful person in the country. Right? At the end of the day. Now, we can talk a lot about the character of the president, if he's the best president ever. We can talk about whether his conflict avoidance is but the thing is this, the levers of power is with the president. And katulad ng sinabi nung isang magaling na senador dyan na dating tumakbong vice president, spare tire lang naman yung vice president, no? Spare tire lang yung president. So, in that situation, you also add the element of foreign policy. And this is a very interesting thing, mga kameta. O yung mga engot dyan na hindi nila guess. Nagpapatawa lang tayo, but this is serious analysis. And for anyone who bothers, actually medyo kung medyo literate kayo, nagbasa kayo ng mga sinulat natin, the reason nga in-interview lang tayo all around the world is because alam natin yung sinasabi natin. But anyway, but with the caveats, of course. Now, going back to this, one of the things that is happening here is very interesting because all of a sudden, and this is my problem dun sa analysis ng mga bakery forum na yan. It is true na maliit lang ng porsyento ng mga Pilipino see foreign policy or West Philippines as an urgent issue. But that doesn't mean that only few Filipinos care about West Philippines issue. That's not true. Vast majority of Filipinos care about the West Philippines issue. It's just that it's not their number one national concern. It's not as important as inflation because you have to eat food every day. While the West Philippines Sea issue, unless may ngista ka sa West Philippines Sea, is not an everyday issue. So, mali yung analysis nung mga taga-bakery dyan, nakakala nila dahil 7% lang or whatever lang nagsabi na most urgent, yung na 7% lang may paki sa West Philippines Sea. That's not true. Anong kasyungan ng pag-iisip yan? I-upgrade nyo naman yung thinking nyo. Now, clearly, the majority of Filipinos have very strong feelings about the West Philippine Sea. Clearly, a majority of Filipinos want the numbers are clear, Pulse Asia, Bliss, etc. Majority of Filipinos want the president to take a tough stance sa West Philippine Sea to take back, even if kaya, yung mga isla na nawala sa atin. I think they're Thomas Carr Marshall. And 7 to 8 out of 10 Filipinos want us to work with allies and friends. Na kung titignan mo, Romualdez right now is positioning himself as a man of the West Philippine Sea, as one of the defenders of the West Philippine Sea. Because under Romualdez, right? Under Romualdez, ito, may picture dito. Si Romualdez pumunta pa sa Pag-asa pala nung isang araw lang sa October 5. So, ipopost ko yan sa inyo. So, what you're seeing right now is Speaker Romualdez is clearly positioning himself as a patriot, as a defender of the West Philippine Sea, and the reallocation of the confidential funds that was requested by, among others, who, nire-allocate niyan to agencies na in charge sa pagde-develop ng West Philippine Sea. Right? And the other thing that you have to also keep in mind here is that they're also, right, allocating money. So this is the Department of Transportation, no? Pinakita natin nung isang araw. They're also allocating fund dun sa pag-develop ng facilities dyan sa Pag-asa. So this is very, very interesting. So you have the Speaker of the House. I don't think, when was the last time? Belmonte? Hindi rin eh. I haven't seen a Speaker of the House who's so front and center, at least positioning-wise, projection-wise, publicity-wise, no? As the defender of the West Philippine Sea. Ipopost natin yan. We'll talk about this. The pictures here is this article. So, no October 5 pala, nandun sila sa Pag-asa. Yeah, kasama pa yung mga AFP top generals and all, including General Romeo Bronner. So, this is it. When was the last time you saw a Speaker of the House going to, I don't know, Pag-asa? Right? Hindi eh. So, and this coincides with the reallocation of funds from VP to West Philippine Sea. So, or yung mga West Philippine Sea relevant agencies or West Philippine Sea relevant projects. And look at yung statement ni Stella Kimbo na diniscuss natin. Sabi niya, we want to be on the right side of history. So now, this is where you get to see that itong foreign policy issue na yan, itong West Philippine Sea foreign policy issue na yan, is becoming a clincher. Na it's allowing for one faction, and I would hazard to say the more dominant faction with the ruling coalition, to come out and say, coming for the West Philippine Sea, kami mga patriots, and we want funds to go dun sa mga ahensya na nagdi-defend ng ating national security and defending us against real enemies, not some imaginary NPA communists taking over schools, whatever, yung mga blah blah blah. No. We're here to fight against the real enemy, and I'm helping them. And as a Speaker of the House, because I have a lot of discretion about funds, etc., this is what we're gonna do. So, in a way, I'm not saying this is the strategy per se, but in a way you can see you were able to hit two birds with one stone, right? Through that reallocation, A, you emphasize yung commitment mo sa pagdepensa ng West Philippine Sea. And B, if ever there is indeed a rivalry, or B is ever there's some axe to grind, then right? So you accomplished multiple tasks at the same time with this move. And I think that's where the context whereby si Tatay, he saw what's going on here and he responded accordingly. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, as I argued, journalists say all politics is local politics, right? Meaning, when it comes to foreign policy or national politics, this has to do with internal, domestic, local level kind of power plays and calculus. What's happening in the Philippines is actually kind of like the opposite. The West Philippine Sea issue and yung issue na sino ba talagang para sa bayan at sinong pro-China lang, this is allowing for one faction within a ruling faction to assert its dominance, and at least parang ito yata ang tingin ni Tatay, parang mina-marginalize pa yung kabila, right? So this is fascinating. I think we haven't seen many cases whereby foreign policy becomes essentially a stepping stone for one faction within the ruling coalition to step it up, and also to allow them, to push back against another faction, right? And remember, the divisions and fault lines that took place dito sa ilalim ng ruling coalition, saan siya nagsimula? Nagsimula ito dun sa demotion ni former President and Speaker of the House, Arroyo. And according to some reports, this had something to do also with disagreements over Marcos Jr.'s policy towards China, meaning Marcos being a bit too critical towards China for some factions. So this is very, very interesting. So yung mga developments sa West Philippine Sea is accelerating power play within the ruling coalition. And now, more than 1 year, until next midterm elections, but more or less 1 year until registration for the next elections, mukhang nagsimula na. At mukhang medyo alam na natin ano yung maging potential alignments and ano yung mga maging potential rivalries there. Now, the thing here is, and I think this is where things get interesting, ang tanong dito is, ano naman ang gagawin ng totoong opposition? Because I always made a distinction between two kinds of opposition. Functional opposition and ideological opposition. Ang ideological opposition ay isang opposition na kung saan talagang meron kang disagreement dun sa mga prinsipyo, sa ideolohiya ng administrasyon. Right? So, karamihan ng mga opposition, ideological opposition ay ayaw kay Bongbong Marcos because of course, yung history, yung kasaysayan, concerns about, human rights violations in the past during the Marcos regime, also concerns about good governance, etc. And some, more far left or progressive, they're even against the kind of oligarchic politics or quasi-democracy that we have. That's the ideological opposition. But right now, what's happening now is, dun sa ruling coalition nagkakaroon ng split. So one part of the ruling coalition is becoming a functional opposition, meaning hindi siya opposition ideologically, or not a significant ideological or policy outlook difference, although there are some major policy differences, particularly in West Philippine Sea. But overall, it's not like one is left, one is right in terms of ideology. It's not. They're both right. One is more far right than the other, okay, by any reasonable analysis. But so what's happening there is magkakaroon ka kaya ng dalawang opposition. Ideological opposition na ayaw sa Marcos administration because of the whole Marcos baggage. And then you have now the functional opposition because of etong away over West Philippine Sea, away over confidential funds, and some would even say power play, internal competition. So that's interesting. Now, so is the 2025 elections going to be a three-way kind of competition whereby you have one very dominant, essentially BBM, ROMUALDEZ, etc., administration bets, and then you'll have ideological opposition here, and then you'll have functional opposition here, and then what's going to happen next? No, so some were saying, kasi ganito, if you're a Never Marcos group, you might even contemplate teaming up with the functional opposition against the administration. Now, my problem with that is, or I mean, the criticism against that would be, I'm not sure about the chances there. It's very hard to go against administration during midterm elections because midterm elections in the Philippines are pro-incumbency. But the other one is, wait lang. What are your concerns against with Marcos? What happened again under Duterte's, right? I'm not talking about Marcos Sr., I'm talking about Marcos Jr., right? Between Marcos Jr. and Marcos Sr., who is a bigger concern when it comes to human rights? Who is a bigger concern when it comes to West Philippine Sea? Who is a bigger concern when it comes to X, Y, and Z, right? So the problem with those who are just focused as never Marcos and maybe open to teaming up with the others, that has its own, right? Now, and then I think there's another group within the ideological opposition who are saying, let's just stay out of this whole thing. Maybe just pick up the popcorns and try to run as the third force in the 2025 elections, or just sit out the 2025 elections, do grassroots, popularize some of your promising candidates, but you're really there for 2028, right? Let the 2025 to be uniteam contest, right? Intra-uniteam contest or not so uniteam contest. But my sense is we might see more and more members of the supposed ideological opposition, people who are from Liberal Party like Stella Kimbo, people who are affiliated with the opposition, people who ran under the opposition, people who used to criticize Marcos Jr. a lot, people who used to present themselves as the antithesis of Marcos, etc. They might come in and say, Marcos, Duterte, admin, suddenly not so admin. Doon na tayo tataya sa, hindi lang mas malaking chance, pero mas malapit dun sa something that I can work with. So I think what we're gonna see is that there's gonna be splits also, not only within the ruling coalition within Unity Team. I think there's gonna be some split also within the ideological opposition. I think there are gonna be people there in the real opposition, some of them saying, never Marcos, will not work with them. We might even be open to working with the other faction to check them out. There could be another faction, I can't guess who's gonna say, neither nor, bahala kayo dyan, I'm just gonna pick my popcorn and I'm just gonna prepare for 2028, right? Maybe support some people here and there, medyo magparamdam ako, but no. But I think there'll be more and more people who'll say, I'm not necessarily endorsing it, but this is just my sense about things. And I'm sure Stella Kimbo could be one of them, who'll say, Duterte admin, I'm sure I could work with them. Marcos Jr. administration, well, it's not necessarily your Norwegian Social Democratic Labour Party, but I think I can work with this administration. And by the way, if it's midterms, you'd rather be with the administration because your chances of winning is significantly higher. And if you want to make good change, then that's it. Work with the side that you can work better with. So these are potential people who are not only never Duterte, but they're also pragmatic people who want to be in the game. And I want to say that, okay, given that for now, for a while Duterte, for a while Marcos, but who knows, in 2028 things could be interesting. And the idea is that, who knows, maybe in 2028 we can converge with other members of the opposition who were not siding with any of the sides or were running against both sides, but down the road we can work together. But by that time, I'm going to be much more powerful. By that time, I'm going to be a national figure. By that time, I have build my credentials again, and I think Stella Kimbo could be one of those persons, but I don't think Stella Kimbo is alone. I think there'll be growing temptation by people from the real opposition to say that hindi lang ako magpa-popcorn. Maybe I should join the race, maybe not even run, but somehow be part of the game and lay down the foundation for 2028. So essentially, mga kameta, ngayon pa lang, hindi lang nagsimula ang 2025 elections. Mukhang nagsimula na rin ang 2028 elections. Not only in a conceptual sense, not only in terms of just vague forecast or scenario building, I think in terms of actual alignment of forces, no? In terms of actual sowing the seeds for what could happen down in 2028. I mean, President Duterte also mentioned 2028 elections and who could be the next president. So that it looks like every side right now has 2028 in their sights, in their crosshairs. And as early as right now, nag-iisip ng lahat how to play their game in the best way possible in 2025 so that they'll be in the best position possible for the even bigger fight in 2028. Because mga kameta, I describe the 2022 elections as the most consequential elections in contemporary Philippine history. But as things stand, I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think I was wrong. I think I was right, and I'm glad many people use my description, which is most consequential. I wrote it in a piece for Al Jazeera English. This is way early in the election period. My sense is the 2028 elections could be even more consequential for Philippine democracy. Because look at it this way. If babalik ang mga Dutertes in 2028, then that means that this Marcos Jr. time was just a kind of a, some would say temporary respite, or some would say just a temporary break in the inevitable ascendancy of Dutertismo in the Philippines. Now, but if some people in the opposition, some more moderate elements, work their way through, and some of the more progressives also play their cards well and smartly in 2025 in preparation for 2028, what could happen actually is in 2028, you may have actually very competitive candidate from the real opposition. Even someone like Riza Hontiveros. But not only a candidate for the presidency, but a number of candidates for the top offices, including the Senate, the Congress, the governor office. So a lot is at stake. So imagine if the real opposition manages to navigate this whole Marcos, Duterte, unity dynamics so smartly that they'll be in a position to be highly competitive for 2028, right? Then our interpretation of not only the past 6 years, but also our interpretation of now and the next 5 years or 4 years will also be very different, right? I'm simplifying it. Actually, this is very Hegelian analysis. The idea is that may konting hugot style yan. I'll just use hugot para ma-explain ko sa kanila. Because in Hegelian dialectics, what happens tomorrow shapes your understanding of what happens today or what happened today, right? So the fall shapes your understanding of the original state. So in short, parang ganito yan. Kunyari, nagjowa ka, di ba? Tapos, heartbroken ka, wala, hindi gumana yung jowa. Tapos nakahanap ka ng mas magandang jowa. After 2 years or so. So suddenly, yung heartbreak mo na yan, ay parang, ay buti nga, I get rid of that. Ano lang pala yan? Parang blessing in disguise yan. See? So your interpretation of your past changes because of your differential future. Now, of course, the opposite could be also true. Like let's say, nag-jowa ka, blah blah blah, hindi nag-work, heartbroken, and then yung sumunod, hindi magandang jowa. So ang mangyari dito is suddenly, ang interpretation of past mo is, ayan na, mag-Adele ka na. The one that got away. Do you get what I'm saying? So, let me turn the jowa into progressive politics. Maybe you then get Lenny in 2022. And you would say, wala nang pag-asa ng Pilipinas. But what if in 2028, you get someone like Riza? Or someone like Lenny again? Or, you know what I'm saying? Then suddenly, you're gonna look at 2022 and say, nah, the 2022 was not a tragic election. The 2022 was really the wake-up call, and the 2022 was just the beginning of a new era of next-level progressive Philippine democracy. Do you get what I'm saying there? Right? So, if the real opposition manages to navigate this 6 years and really pulls off some magical thing in 2028 and then really pushes the country in the right direction, suddenly the past 6 years of Tatay-style politics and now with Junior style will not look so tragic. It will look like a difficult transition period that place us on the right path to the real and full consummation of a progressive opportunity and moment. Did you see what I did there? I just explained Hegelian dialectics to you guys by talking about jowas, right? Do you get what I'm saying? So see, the same heartbreak will have totally different meaning depending on what happens down the road, right? Do you get what I'm saying? So So I agree with Gatsby. You can change the past. Remember there's that line na si Gatsby ay, if you didn't read the book, at least you watched the movie. He says, di ba sasabihin nung yung Spider-Man guy character sa kanya, but you cannot change it. I said, sport, but you can change the past, right? That's a Hegelian way of putting it, right? Now, I'm not sure if Fitzgerald knew Hegel, but if Fitzgerald had read Hegel and I don't know, made a different ending for Gatsby, then Gatsby would have proven right that actually you can change the past. So if the real opposition makes the right choice for 2025 and puts them in a position to pull off something special in 2028, yung heartbreak na mga kakampings dyan in 2022 will suddenly have a completely radically different meaning. It will look like just the beginning of a new chapter of full consummation and flowering of a progressive Philippines. And in the same vein, if you're pro-Duterte and Sara pulls it up in 2028, then you're going to look at the past 6 years, meaning from 2022 to 2028 as learning experience, a moment of humility and all, but also now you have your redemption. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying here? So as entertaining as this may seem to you guys, right? And yeah, of course, it's very possible that all of this is just, flash in the pan, or all of this is just, a kind of a temporary explosion of dramatics. I'm not ruling that out, sure. But parang hindi parang totoo talaga to eh, di ba? Like, we've been talking about this for a few months and now you can see it's escalating. The trajectory is very clear, and as we get closer to 2025, I think this will intensify. So that's what I'm saying here, right? Ayan, nag-Hegel self-recognition. Okay, this is... But you guys see what I'm saying here, right? You can literally change the past by changing the future, right? Like, so that's why sobrang mahalaga ngayon na yung mga tao na sa totoong opposition, pag-aralan nila ng mabuti, not only alignment of forces, but also not only winning in 2025 but thinking about vindicating history, vindicating the pink movement. That's what they want to think about. And if you're pro-Duterte, you also have to play your card very carefully right now, because if you overreach and you sablay it, then you would look at the 6 years of Tatay as just an aberration. And back to, yan, mga elitista, mga taga Manila, yung mga ganon, right? So, that's why I'm saying, mga kameta, don't give up on the Philippines, because you literally can change the past if you play your cards well right now in the next 4 or 5 years. So, I don't care about some of people out there who are into this self-righteous, sanctimonious, petty, whatever. I don't care about them. You know why? Because I'm looking at the big movements of history. I'm looking at redemption. I'm looking at, not for myself, thank God I'm trying my best, but I'm looking at redemptive politics. I'm looking at the possibility of making something out of all the tragedies and difficulties and challenges and polarizing politics we have had. Because the reason I'm saying this is because I'm looking at the West Philippine Sea issue right now, at pansin ko, yung mga lumalaban para sa West Philippine Sea ay mas decidido, mas inspired, at hindi lang vindicated Parang, ito yung may almost my triumphant feeling, not triumphalist, but almost triumphant, because alam nila, they didn't only have to fight for West Philippine Sea against a bully out there, but they had to fight it through the tatay barangay geopolitics days. So para ang sarap ng feeling ngayon na eto na talaga, lumalaban na talaga tayo next. So, in a way, those 6 years, actually it was not, but 2 or 3 years na talagang tatay loves China kind of naive barangay style geopolitics, you don't see that as a lost opportunity, but you see that as an opportunity to actually strengthen your will, to develop steely patriotic will, and to fight the West Philippine Sea fight smarter. And my sense is, if we had pleasant surprise on the West Philippine Sea front so far, why can't we have also pleasant surprises on the other fronts? But that's only possible if you hold your ground, play your game smartly, and once you get the opportunities, once you get openings, you go for it. Okay. Wala na, pagod na ako, matulog na ako. But gets yun na. Gets yung sinasabi ko dito. So, I am not here na pinag-usapan lang itong politika natin para lang, just making fun or having fun or no, because there's a bigger picture out there, mga kameta. There's a bigger picture out there. There's a possibility for redemption. There's a possibility for things going way or wrong. And there's a possibility for strategic learning, right? And there's a possibility for us making the most out of the best that we saw in the Filipino people. Not only in last year elections, but over the last 6-7 years. Do you get what I'm saying? Exactly. Perspective is the most important thing. This is not coming out of nowhere. Kanina I had conversation with some of our friends na, come from countries that are going through very difficult moments. And we went back into ancient history. No, I'm not talking about the Middle East, but of course, nakikiramay po tayo sa mga biktima ng mga yung mga civilians na namatay dyan nga sa ongoing conflict ngayon. Our hearts and prayers go to them, and really our prayers for humanity and sanity to prevail eventually para in the cycle na hindi tuloy-tuloy. Now, the person I was talking to a while ago, they're not from that place, but they're also in countries that are going through very difficult moments of transition. So what we were doing kanina is we were reaching back into history in order to better understand how can things move for the better in the next 15, 20, 30 years. In the case of the Philippines, luckily, demokrasya tayo, guys. May chance talaga tayo na baguhin yung direction ng ating bansa. We kind of did it in the wrong direction at some point, but we can also do it in the right direction. And sana lang, if ever we get it right this time, hindi na natin sayangin ulit. Because before, sinayang natin right? Got rid of a dictator, and then what? Sinayang yung opportunity, complacency. So no room for complacency. But also no room for cynicism. What we need is healthy skepticism with courage of the will. That's a very, very important thing. But perhaps the most important thing, compared to everything else, is perspective. And this is what I hope to share with you guys, right? So yeah, in a Gatsby sense, you can change the past by making a better future for the country. So yun lang. On that note, thank you very much. Maraming salamat. Sorry, I'm already losing my voice kasi 7, 8 a.m. pa lang meron kami dito workshop and talks. Ang dami puro mga gera, conflicts, disarmament, kung ano nang pinag-usapan namin tuloy ulit mamaya umaga. So, but I was thinking about it because if you just want to know about what's the latest thing that happened in Philippine politics, Marites, etc. Ay sa kanina may mga nagsabi na nagmamarites ka. Ito yung mga syunga na hindi nila alam saan galing where is all of this coming from. That you can get it out there. Alright, you can watch other people, whatever. But now when I analyze things, I'm looking at almost the Hegelian dialectics. I'm looking at the Geist, the spirit driving history, right? You have to operate at that level. Because if you don't operate at that level, mga kameta, you will be a hostage to presentism. And what is presentism? That the excitement or the sorrows of the moment will blind you to the possibilities of the future and even the chance to change what the past means for us. As simple as that. On that note, thank you very much. Maraming salamat. I know medyo tumagal-tagal ito. Siguro i-break down na lang natin into 2 parts. Lampas na tayo sa 1 oras. I'll try to break this down into 2 parts. Now, this is very important. I just felt we need to have the kind of honest conversation about this. And a kind of really deep conversation about this. No? So, please, don't try to compare me to other people. Other people do their own thing. I do it my way. I do it completely my way. And I don't just blog and talk on TV, whatever. I write these things down. I think about these things day and night. Really look at different angles. Compare the situation in the Philippines to 10, 12, 13, 15 other countries that I kind of know about. Philippines is not the only country I'm familiar with. I can confidently say I'm familiar with 3, 4, 5 different countries, right? Their politics, their history, etc. Not just China, not just US, etc. And based on that, we make this kind of analysis. No notes, nothing. Nothing. I mean, this is just natural. All right? Okay. Thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon. Yeah. Actually, I'm thinking how to write this down. I think I have to be able to write this down. Yeah, you have to make it into. But yeah, I mean, I'm working already on a book, on another book. So we have to do this deep thinking. Yung mga nanonood kasi sa atin, especially dun sa Nexus episodes natin with Leloy Claudio, there kitang-kita na talaga, you know. We spend a lot of time really thinking this through. All right? God bless. Talk to you and have a good day. Maraming salamat. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. And yung mga ano dyan, mga katatay, huwag naman kayo magalit. Alright? I hope. I mean, kung katatay ka, you also, you know, whatever. On that note, thank you very much. God bless. Have a good day.